All right, so the US GDP growth has been revised from 4.3 to 4.4% for quarter three in 2025. Now, that is extreme growth. That must mean everybody in the United States must be rich and wealthy. Well, that's not how most people feel, and that is not common sentiment. I'm going to tell you what's going on. Why is the US economy booming and GDP growth is growing while a lot of us feel left behind and it just seems like we just can't keep up? I'm going to go over how you can fix that and how you can be a part of that exploding wealth that is going on in the US economy right now. So let's look at the data and see what's going on. All right, so again, we're looking at Q3, that is July, August, September. And as you can see in Q4, oh, you can't. Yes, you can see it. So Q4, so the increase in real GDP, again, real GDP is adjusted for inflation, in the third quarter reflects increases in consumer spending, exports, government spending, and investments. But again, if we have GDP growing, but a lot of us feel like we can't get ahead than what's going on, we're going to look at this graph right here. So this is known as the K-shaped economy, and this is the graph for it, right? All right, so what are you looking at right here? So you see one line going up, one line going down. Why? First, the red line is the S&P 500, represents the S&P 500. You'll see in the blue consumer sentiment. There is a sharp incline in the red and a sharp decline in the blue in 2020. Now we're going to talk about why that happened and why that is. But let's look at what those lines actually are. So the upper arm going up, the red one, are sectors, companies, assets, and people that benefit from the recovery in many cases. This includes investors in technology stocks, big tech companies, the luxury sectors, high income professionals, and asset owners. I want to make sure that you understand, to summarize it, asset owners, right? Because what does it say? Investors in all of these, the following things: technology stocks, big tech companies, luxury sectors, high income professionals, right? So basically asset owners. Now let's look at the lower arm going down: sectors, small businesses, and people that continue to decline or stagnate, even as the overall economy appears to improve. Examples include the hospitality and travel industries, many lower priced retail outlets, low wage service workers, small businesses, and many middle class and low income households, right? So you see a big divergence in the people that own assets and the people that don't own assets. That's what basically this K-shaped graph is showing, right? Again, this is the red line. You'll see before 2020, you'll see that, consumer sentiment was around the same. It's teetering around the same movements of the S&P 500, right? But what happened in 2020 that caused all of this? It's basically COVID. But what happened in COVID is an influx and the flooding of free money, right? Whenever you say free money, literally free money. We got stimulus checks. A lot of people got even more than that whenever you consider the unemployment PPP, forgivable loans that was given out, right? So looking at all this, what can you do so that you can be a part of this explosive growth that has happened and is continuing to happen? Many people might think that, it's too late for me. I should have owned assets back in 2020 or before COVID. Obviously, nobody has a crystal ball. Nobody knew that this was going to happen. But overall, whether it was before or after COVID, asset owners have always been on the upper end of inflation, right? That's what happens when inflation goes up, right? Because whenever you throw in free money, inflation is going to shoot up the roof, right? And which is what happened. Asset prices goes up, services go up, and the reason why products also go up is because of those services going up, right? So what can you do today? Unless you're studying the graphs and you know all about all the different companies, then yes, you can jump into the stock market. But even I've done that before, and I don't advise, unless you are proficient in reading graphs, understand each company's. And these days, you can't even look at what's going on in the earnings because the graphs don't even go according to what the earnings are showing, which is how it should be. But not everything is how things should be, right? So again, what you should do is start owning assets, start owning stocks and bonds, precious metals, right? But the easiest sector that, in my opinion, that you can get in is the real estate market. Why? Because it's not as complex as buying equity stocks, right? Again, because you have to go into the research of all these companies. If you have a good agent that works with investors or maybe invests in it himself, then you have a golden key to get into this. Now, I'm going to make another video talking about what's going on in the housing market. So stay tuned to that. But for now, to answer the question of how you can get ahead and start making an impact in your financial situation, is start owning assets. And again, if you need anything real estate related, go ahead and ask me any questions. Luckily for me, I bought this property right before COVID. I think we closed on it literally January 2020. 2020. So we moved in, and a few weeks later, that's whenever the whole pandemic happened. But I have seen a lot of equity grow in this property. Now, obviously, I wish I had many more. That way, I can have even more equity. But hindsight's 2020, and back then I could only afford this property. But now we're going into more properties. We're going into fixer uppers, which I'm excited for. So stay tuned for that, and then also stay tuned for the market update.